Gains gang, what is good? Today we have a video called Why I'll Never Move Back to America, the USA. Now, being born abroad, of course, in Europe, in Ireland, guys, we are completely different than America. But at the same time, we're also quite similar. We're living in the Western world. I was always mesmerized by the US's wealth, you know, their culture, the rap music, the party culture, the whole sort of like massive, you know, feats of engineering, the NASA space shuttle, the space race, all these crazy things, the presidents that I used to hear about growing up, John F. Kennedy, all that type of thing. And, you know, I finally got to visit the US and I thought it was amazing. I thought it was really cool. I'm wondering why some guy would want to leave the US. You know, obviously not living there ever. I visited there twice for a few hours each time. I was in Canada for 6 or 7 weeks, which is very similar. I thought that the place is quite amazing. You can make a lot of money there, but obviously someone who's born and lived there their whole life would probably see a lot of the downfalls that they have, guys. So in this video, we're about to understand why it's not great to live in the US for a certain amount of reasons. So drop a comment down below. Also tell me, where else in the world would you guys love to live? You know, if not the US, where else? Japan, you know, China, Switzerland, you know, Brazil. What other country would you love to live in? So let's get it, guys.
What's up, Savvy Expats? From generation to generation, my life, my parents' life, and even my grandparents' life was completely and utterly curated by one simple concept. What is that, you may ask? Well, that is the American dream. Call me delusional, but I believe at one point America was the best country in the entire world. If that weren't the case, then there wouldn't be countless of foreign families immigrating, leaving their country for the land of the free, home of the brave, to seek out new opportunities. But just like many other Americans who decided to leave the country, I'll be speaking on why I don't see myself ever moving back to the US anytime soon, as well as why leaving America was probably the best decision my family has ever made. But before
This is going to be interesting because he touched on a few different things. So the American dream, you know, it used to be great at one point. I think America kind of peaked at like the 80s and 90s. I think it's kind of been going downhill from then in certain aspects, so we're about to figure them out, guys. Let's go.
Hop into that, allow me to disclose, I by no means intend to insult, slander, or speak bad about the US. I really want to make that clear. This country holds a close place to my heart because that's where I was born and raised, and not to mention, that was where I spent my entire upbringing. But now, after having moved to the Philippines, my views have drastically shifted, and I'd love to share my experiences on why.
Interesting.
So, without wasting time, let's get into it. Being from the windy city of Chicago, the first reason we saw it fit to leave the US for the Philippines is of course because of the safety. Hands down, without a shadow of a doubt, I feel much safer in the Philippines than I did in Chicago. Now, bear in mind, it's not like my family resided in the rough and tumble streets of the South Side. No, that's not the case at all. We lived only 15 to 20 minutes just outside of downtown Chicago in the relatively peaceful suburbs. Now, that may bring you to question, why was safety such a big concern then? Well, growing up in Illinois, I always felt like it was pretty safe. But let's not deny it, guys. It was only in the past.
I want you to come to my house here in Dubai.
So he's saying he wasn't living in Southside, the rough parts that we all hear about in the news.
Past couple of years that we saw crime rates massively jump. With the political distress in the US, much less in a controversial city like Chicago, we saw crime occur that we never used to. Murder rates, kidnapping rates, theft rates, and sad to even say, school shootings became more common. And from what I see, these things were honestly expected in certain dangerous and lower income neighborhoods around the city. But little by little, what once was only prevalent in the South Side, for example, we saw these crimes begin to creep into what we thought were safe suburban towns just near us. And so safety became increasingly concerning. And I'm sure many of you from Cali can possibly relate. I've talked to a lot of you guys who've come on vacation here in the Philippines from California, and it's honestly sad to hear how what once used to be safe neighborhoods back in your town is becoming increasingly more dangerous to live in. We've all seen on the news the unfortunate crimes that occur with the shootings, the riots, and the lootings. These crimes not only just occur in these sketchy areas, but now even in these suburban towns that we wouldn't even expect. One example I have, and I don't know how many of you guys are actually familiar with the towns in and around Chicago, but we used to live near an upper class area called Oak Brook. And to paint the picture, when you drive through these subdivisions in Oak Brook, it's apparent that it would be akin for you Californians like Bel Air and for the Floridians like Boca Raton. Big houses, safe gated communities, wealthy retirees, you get the idea. So needless to say, when we saw on our usual news channel ABC7 that there was a family robbed at gunpoint outside of Oak Brook Mall, a place that we used to go often, we were appalled. Or even a year before that, 14 thieves robbed over $140,000 worth of merchandise from the same Oak Brook Mall. And this doesn't even just occur in the wealthy parts of Chicago, even in places like California too. You also may have seen robberies on the news in prestigious places like Beverly Hills, and it just makes you wonder, if these places aren't even safe, then where can you go? I have a lot.
Yeah, that's an interesting topic, guys, the safety, because, you know, living in Ireland, guys, in Europe, we don't have the same crazy crime levels as the US, it seems like on paper. But, you know, they also have a lot of guns. They also have a lot of, you can carry knives. Like, you can't do any of that stuff. In Ireland, if you carry a knife, like, you go to jail for like 5 years. All right. Same with, well, I mean, it should, on paper, that should happen, right? That doesn't really normally happen. Or if you have guns or any sort of crime, they're cracking down on that stuff here. It seems like when people don't have guns, it's a lot safer, but also you wouldn't want to take away your gun because then it's like your personal safety is affected. So there are pluses and minuses. You know, the crime, I mean, you'd have to go to a really nice, you know, basically part of the city to, you know, not see any crime. I mean, like, everywhere can experience crime. It's a bit of a, you know, irrelevant topic, the safety, because I hear that all the time. Oh, school shootings and stuff, but everywhere has crime, guys. Everywhere has crime. It's just that, you know, maybe to the level that they have isn't, we don't really, I don't really see that in other countries outside of the US, these shootings and stuff like that. But it does happen outside of other countries, guys. It does happen in other places, and places of Brazil, South America, very, very dangerous, guys. You know, places like Asia, really dangerous. Australia, really dangerous. So everywhere has shootings and stuff like that. Maybe not to the same level, but it still is pretty prevalent, you know.
More stories from expats that I've personally met here in the Philippines, but I'll stop here because I don't really want to come off as if I'm fear-mongering. I just want to share our personal experiences because this is, after all, very prevalent in where we used to live back in Chicago, even though it was in a suburban area. But I also know that there are still very safe places to live in the US. My point being, however, crime rates have jumped quite a bit in the US, which is just one piece of the puzzle on why we decided to move to the Philippines. Now, on a more positive note, let's move on to the second reason on why I'll never move back to the US, and that is, plain and simple, we just have a better life in the Philippines.
Yeah, this is what I want to hear about, because really the crime can be anywhere, but will you live a better life in the Philippines? Like, will you have the, you know, higher social mobility? You know, stuff like that.
In almost all areas and aspects, whether it be financially, socially, or in experiences, our quality of life is better in the Philippines. For me, there's only one area of life that Chicago far surpasses and trumps the Philippines in, and that is food. But then again, in my opinion, there's no place in the world that can beat Chicago in the food department. I really miss the Italian beefs and deep dish pizzas there. But back to my point, our quality of life in the Philippines far surpasses our quality of life back in Chicago. I distinctly remember when I told one of my classmates that we'll be moving to the Philippines, his response was, "Why would you do that? It's a third world country."
And it's funny, guys, because, you know, we've been told that most of these third world countries in the Middle East and stuff like that are worse than places in, you know, Europe or Australia. But guys, the Middle East is way better to live in. Way better to live in. I would flip and move to the Middle East in a second if I had a job. They pay for your food, they pay for your flipping hotel, they pay for everything, your accommodation, they pay you amazing wages, there's no tax. You know, it feels like in the Western world we're just getting screwed, guys, every day. I personally don't know why I live in Ireland too much longer, guys, honestly.
I get it. The Philippines does get a bad rep as its entirety being either just concrete jungle or impoverished makeshift houses. But what most don't actually see is a place that we chose to live in.
I want to know where she is.
I'm sure there's some really rich parts of the Philippines as well. I mean, if you have a good job, you can live anywhere. So basically what he's trying to say is that you won't be able to live safe in the US even if you have money. Which, you can kind of argue against that, guys. But we're about to find out what he thinks, guys, because I truly think the Philippines is a savage place. I would love to go to the Philippines, Thailand, Vietnam, Cambodia, Laos, all these different places.
This city, just like a select few other cities in the Philippines, would be considered in the upper echelons of zip codes within the country.
That's nice.
The crime rates are low. It's a central business district of Manila with a diversity of shops and establishments to choose from, and there's glamorous high-rises throughout the city to dwell in.
Nice.
But what most foreigners don't know is that despite this city being considered one of, or if not the most expensive city in all of the Philippines, for the same cost of living that you'd spend in a place like Chicago or California, you can live.
That's the thing, guys. In Ireland, man, the prices of rent are astronomical. It's like 3,000, 4,000 for like a really nice place. It's like 2,000 for like not really nice place, and it's like 1,000 for like a shithole. 1,200 for like a terrible, just a room. 1,500 for just a room. Maybe 2,000 if you live really close to the city. Like the rent rate prices in Ireland and Europe, London, are just so expensive compared to what you can get in Thailand. You live like a king, guys. You'd be like a flipping king.
Live like a king here in BC.
Hey!
So needless to say,
that was like really weird actually that he just copied me there. But you live like a flipping king and queen in these third world countries. It's just lies, guys. Media's been telling us propaganda so we wouldn't leave these countries.
The reason we live better in even the most expensive city in the Philippines, BGC, than back in Chicago is of course because of the affordable cost of living here. By the way, I also do a full breakdown on moving to BGC as well as everything you need to know about this city before you come here, so if you want to check that out, the link is in the description. Now, the second reason is of course of what we spoke of earlier, the crime rates. The way that I can go for a walk at midnight in BGC with complete peace of mind knowing that I'll be safe would not by any means be applicable back in Chicago.
Really?
Crime rates not only in BGC, but the majority of retiree-dense destinations in the Philippines are relatively low. But more than just the low crime rates, our life in the Philippines is better is because we're also rich in experiences here. Traveling in the Philippines is unbelievably affordable. As I mentioned in an earlier video, one of our recent trips was taking a trip down south to Siargao to go surfing for a week. And guess how much our flight cost to go from concrete jungle to crystal clear tropical waters? Only $50 per person.
It's even cheaper in Europe. It's like 10 euro to go to flipping Italy. Like, it's so cheap in Europe.
Bear in mind, in the Philippines, even that can be considered pricey. So to travel from province to province and go island hopping here is not only affordable, but also offers adventurous experiences. Now, moving on to the
Hey, I'm sold already. I'm coming to the Philippines.
third reason why I don't see myself moving back to the US, that is because the American dream is fading.
I agree.
Please take note.
This is like the main reason. Not the American dream, but this sort of land of opportunity. I think that's kind of diminishing, guys. Unless you're earning, like, doing some sort of good work on the internet or something. That whole idea in the Western world after the lockdowns, after the pandemic, has really just gone. It's just gone away, guys, in my personal opinion. That sort of land of opportunity, anywhere in the world now, you can just make money from your laptop, and really nowhere is better than anywhere else. When the internet was invented and when it got really going, nowhere is better than anywhere else,
I did not by any means say that the American dream is dead. There is still plenty of opportunity to live a better life in the US than many other countries. But the reason why I say the American dream is fading is because we can't deny the fact that the American dream is not the same as it used to be 30 to 40 years ago. The reality is, most immigrants moving to the US today will not have as much success as immigrants like my grandparents who moved to the US back in the 50s and 60s.
True.
Why? Well, first, what exactly is the American dream? It's an ideal by which equality of opportunity is available to any citizen, allowing their highest aspirations and goals to be reached. And from that comes the fruits of what everyone sees the American dream as: home ownership, a college degree, a well-paying job, so on and so forth. But the reason I think the American dream isn't ideal as it used to be back then is because, number one, the rising prices in the US.
True.
Although owning a home is an essential part of the American dream, we've seen housing and rental prices dramatically increase. In December of 2022, we saw housing prices increase by a staggering 8.8%, following 12% increase from the previous quarter.
That's nothing. Like in Dublin, guys, in Ireland, in Europe, I don't think anyone my age, I'm 29, is going to own a house. Even if you have a 60,000 a year job. I apologize. If you have a 60,000 a year job and you take out a loan, it might take you 30, 40 years to pay off that flipping mortgage, right? Which, who wants to take a 30-year mortgage? I mean, that's just, it's whack, guys. Like, that's not, nobody wants to do that. 20 years max, but it's like, you really realistically want to do 15, 10-year mortgage. House prices went from like, you know, whatever, 20,000 in the 80s to now they're like 360,000 or something. Like, who the hell can afford that? That's crazy. You know, and most houses are 400,000 here, like just astronomical prices.
And in December of 2021, housing prices increased an all-time high of 18.5%.
Crazy.
And it's not just housing prices, but inflation rates in general. In 2022, the annual inflation rate hit 6.5%, and the previous year before that, in 2021, inflation rates hit 7%. So with rising inflation rates, even the prices for your basic necessities like eggs are becoming increasingly more expensive.
Yeah.
To be exact, in 2022, a box of eggs
Invested your money and can't get
box
it.
of eggs rose by 60%. Like, they're starting to come down now a little bit, but it's still so crazy high.
rose in price by 60%. And so, considering the rising inflation and the rising cost of basic necessities, we would also expect a rise in wages, right?
Nope.
However, there's little evidence that points to any meaningful increase in wage growth.
There's been no increase in wage growth. Like, you have to do some sort of entrepreneurialism, YouTube, Instagram, social media to get wealthy nowadays. Like, it's very tough. Like, of course you can do like property and stuff like that, or like podcasts, but you have to do something that's like gonna be quite impactful, guys, and do it really hard and for a long time, because you're really never gonna earn any amount of money. Like, you are going to be broke the rest of your life if you don't really knuckle down and like do what's necessary, you know? Like, it's yeah, that sort of land of opportunity is gone, guys.
Not to mention, the American dream now is also built on plastic. What do I mean by this? Well, just to make ends meet, Americans now are more than ever shifting their expenses to credit cards and other lines of credit. As a matter of fact, statistically speaking, American households carry an average of $100,000 in debt. This is between auto loans, credit card payments, and other types of loans. And so, it's safe to say that the financial health of the average American citizen is not in good shape. This is especially the case with the younger generations, millennials in particular, who still struggle to buy homes despite carrying on this debt.
Man, I would never get a home with a mortgage, guys. That's just signing your life away like shit, man.
In fact, the median age for home buyers in the US is 47 years old. That's 8 years older than the median age prior to the financial crisis. To add salt to this wound, the average American citizen only has $5,300 in their savings account, which only makes things look worse for the future of America. And we won't
Crazy.
even get started on the retirement crisis in the US, where the average American citizen cannot see themselves retiring by the age of 60, and if they are already 60, are still not in a place to retire. And
Like, everything that he says here is applicable for Ireland, for the UK, for Sweden, Denmark, you know, anywhere in the Western world, guys. Australia. Like, the average, what is the average retirement age in Ireland is 65. Like, it's probably going to be 70. You're going to be working till you're dead. You know, it's crazy.
And so, when it comes to the American dream, nowadays, with today's technology and also the cheaper cost of living in countries from abroad, we can still accomplish that without having to live in the US now.
Alright, guys, so we're going to leave it there. In my personal opinion, I'll give you guys a few tips. Do some level of entrepreneurialism. Don't just come home and, you know, focus on drinking, partying with your friends, having fun. Like, do a level of entrepreneurialism that'll like get you out of your just regular 9 to 5, you know, because it's not going to earn you enough money. Okay, don't move to a different country. Point number 2. Okay, just stay in your home country, get a laptop, get a nice internet connection, and start working your ass off on the internet, guys. Join some sort of like club that you guys can make money from. Okay, Understand that. Alright, and third one is just work out, guys, so you feel better. Mental health is better. I love you guys all, man. Stay free. Stay making them gains. And make sure to always stay sexy. I'll see you guys in the next one, man. Peace.